Joshua chapter 17. This was the allotment for the tribe of Manasseh, as Joseph's firstborn. That is from Machir, Manasseh's firstborn. Machir was the ancestor of the Gileadites, who had received Gilead and Bashan, because the Gileadites, that's the tribe who lives in Gilead. Like the Vermonters, or the people who live in Vermont.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Because the Machirites were great soldiers. Machirites, that's because they're descended from Machir. All right. So this allotment was for the rest of the people of Manasseh. The clans of Abizer, Helek, Asriel, Shechem, Hefer, Shemaiah. These are the male descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph, by their clans. Now Zelophehad, son of Hefer, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, had no sons, but only daughters, whose names were Bala, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. They went to Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the leaders, and said, "The Lord commanded Moses to give us an inheritance among our relatives." So Joshua gave them an inheritance along with the brothers of their family, according to the Lord's command. Manasseh's share consisted of 10 tracts of land, besides Gilead and Bashan east of the Jordan, because the daughters of the tribe of Manasseh received an inheritance among the sons. The land of Gilead belonged to the rest of the descendants of Manasseh. The territory of Manasseh extended from Asher to Michmethah, east of Shechem. The boundary ran southward from there to include the people living at En-Tefuah. Manasseh had the land of Tefuah, but Tefuah itself on the boundary of Manasseh belonged to the Ephraimites. Then the boundary continued south to the Kana ravine. There were the towns belonging to Ephraim lying among the towns of Manasseh, but the boundary of Manasseh was the northern side of the ravine and ended at the Mediterranean Sea. On the south, the land belonged to Ephraim, and the north to Manasseh. That territory of Manasseh reached the Mediterranean Sea and bordered Asher on the north and Issachar on the east. Within Issachar and Asher, Manasseh also had Bethshan, Ibleam, and the people of Dor, Endor, Ta'anach, and Megiddo, together with their surrounding settlements. The third is in the list is Napho. Yet the Manassites were not able to occupy these towns, for the Canaanites were determined to live in that region. However, when the Israelites grew stronger, they subjected the Canaanites to forced labor, but did not drive them out completely. The people of Joseph said to Joshua, "Why have you given us only one allotment and one portion for an inheritance? We are a numerous people, and the Lord has blessed us abundantly." "If you are so numerous," Joshua answered, "and if the hill country of Ephraim is too small for you, go up into the forest and clear land for yourselves there, in the land of the Perizzites and the Rephaites." The people of Joseph replied, "The hill country is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites who live in the plain have chariots fitted with iron, both those in Bethshan and its settlements, and those in the valley of Jezreel." But Joshua said to the tribes of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, "You are numerous and very powerful. You will have not only one allotment, but the forested hill country as well. Clear it, and its farthest limits will be yours. Though the Canaanites have chariots fitted with iron, and though they are strong, you can drive them out." May the Lord bless the reading of His word and guide my mouth. I speak the message that I prepared. Let it be His message, not my message. And His will might be done, not mine. That He might receive glory and honor, not I. And all those with ears may hear the words of the Lord. Amen. Amen. My sermon this morning is entitled Lessons from Life, or About Life from Life. Lessons about life from life. What we're reading here is the allotment of the land to the people. These are the Israelites. This is the tribe of Manasseh. In the previous chapter, this short little chapter, we did the allotment of land to the Ephraimites. Ephraim and Manasseh are the two sons of Joseph, and so when counting the 12 tribes, depends on which accounting you use. But if the Levites don't get land in this case, so then so that drops you down to 11 tribes. So you need Joseph, because he's God's chosen, his two sons get counted as full heirs. You know, I don't know if any of you had a discussion about inheritance, or maybe your Thanksgiving was split because so-and-so got this thing and you wanted that thing, and there's some sort of fight, right? We know that these things happen, and they're important, but sometimes it's a little bit like reading a phone book. You know, it's important and useful, but not really exciting. What's interesting to me is that in this text, we actually get a little bit of excitement. It's not just, oh, the boundary runs from this, this elm tree to this, butternut tree to this stone wall in the corner where this used to be. That we get a little bit more in there. But I think one of the things to look at is that we see God working and God revealing things about Him in very real sorts of ways. Even though that it's filled with all sorts of details. Have you ever had the situation where you were flying and you were going from one place to another place, and lo and behold, your connecting flight, someplace didn't make it happen, and so then you had to go do this thing and that thing, and while you're running around and everything, it's a little bit crazy and you're frazzled and such. But when you finally, get to someplace and you have a moment to look back at it, you see sort of things that God revealed to you. Maybe a little temper that you still had that you thought you didn't have anymore. Nothing brings out a temper like an airport. Or maybe He showed you that you didn't lose your temper, that He had worked on you and had gotten that, and you had an amazing amount of patience. I heard a story about a monk who had, true story, who had gotten, he was from, I think, Nigeria, Africa, and he had to go back home, and then the connecting flight, and so he's talking with customer service, trying to figure out how to get this thing and that thing, and they've canceled this, they've lost his luggage, and he's going, "You are not helpful. I will pray for you." Click. Right? It's a little bit of a success, that he didn't just, tell him right off. On the other hand, it's a little bit of a failure because he was clearly losing his temper. But I sometimes think about that. You are not helpful. I will pray for you. God reveals Himself in real life. And He reveals what He's doing to us and through us and for us in real life. And so, although this is filled with all these sorts of boundary things, and this name, the son of this, and that, we all have those things, right? We all have someplace that we live. We all have somebody that we're the son of or the daughter of, and we're related to this person by that person. We all have these sorts of rivalries and challenges, and okay, this one's mine and this one's yours. Right? Sometimes when Christmas packages are underneath the tree, my in-laws have started wrapping your wrapping paper is one thing, and all your presents are in that wrapping paper. And somebody else, because what happens is the presents get a little mixed up, and wait, who's the one that's going to? And the little tag came off and stuff. You get a little bit of that, right? The Ephraimites are here, but this city over here belongs to the Manassites, and you got to sort of divvy it up. You can almost hear Joseph saying, "Now, boys, stop that fighting." So let's see what we see. Machir was the ancestor of the Gileadites who had received Gilead and Bashan because the Machirites were great soldiers. I think this is the first thing that jumps out. This is the Spider-Man principle, right? With great power comes great responsibility. A little bit different. You see that there's a sense here that they are given this land, and Bashan is beautiful farmland. That it becomes, with the prophets, so 1,000 years or so after this, the prophets talk about the cows of Bashan. It's like the cows over at Billings Farm. These are beautiful cows that are well fed and everything. Cows of Bashan. This is the land that they get, and they get it because they're great warriors. Well, they're given a gift that they're skilled warriors. It's not my fault I'm the biggest and the strongest. Right? I don't even exercise. That they're these great warriors, and so they're given this land that lies outside of the boundaries, that's on the eastern side of the Jordan, because they can take care of it. They can fight it, they can conquer it. It's given for a purpose. It's not just for show. And so sometimes you and I, we're given abilities and talents and gifts to use them because God wants us to do something. Now sometimes, that's frustrating. Well, why do I have to fight just because I can? Well, that's why you were given the ability to do something with it. It's not just, so they're given this land, and it's better than the other land, but they do have to work for it. And so they get it. And then, the second little, again, just little pieces, we get this whole thing about the daughters of Zelophehad. He only has daughters. And, in the ancient world, before this, daughters didn't get to inherit anything. And we've encountered this story back in Numbers where they're trying to figure out who's going to get what, and the daughters of this one man come and say, hey, we won't get anything because our dad just had daughters. And they go, and the Lord says, no, they get to inherit the same as the men. And you get what becomes the base law for inheritance law for 2,000 years is it goes through the son, but if the father doesn't have sons, then it goes to the daughters. They get to inherit it. If they don't have any kids, then it goes to the brothers. And, that's the thing. Now, again, okay, this is like reading court proceedings in probate court. The party in the first part said to the party in the third part. But we see a principle here. We see something about what God's doing, because it's not just that they hold some sort of march and that Joshua becomes intimidated by having all these ladies yelling in his face, and so he changes it. The Lord commanded Moses. God commanded this. And so it says they do it according to the Lord's command. There's a principle in here. Is that there are certain problems we can't do anything about. And those are the problems that God has to handle, and God does fix them. God does handle them. They are what they are. The situation is what the situation is, and so they petition the Lord, and the Lord says, yeah, I'm going to fix this. This is the same thing we see with the folks who have diseases and come to Jesus. Or they have a loved one who's dead, and they bring them to Jesus, or they try to bring Jesus to them. And God says, okay, I'll fix it. And He heals them. You and I, we have problems that we just can't do anything about. We have to bring those to God. And let God fix them. And he has shown time and time again that He is capable of doing it. Now, sometimes we have things that we would just like to go away, but they don't have to be fixed. Sometimes we have to live with those for a while. But we see that ultimately justice is done, and ultimately God addresses them in a way that is interesting. Does this mean then that their sons or their daughters are going to inherit? No, their daughters don't inherit. We don't have any record of that. Just a fluke of that generation that there are only girls born, and so they get to inherit, and their sons are going to inherit. And it's going to continue on. But you have this reminder for the people that, hey, when something like this goes on, this is how you're to handle it. This reminder that God is interested in justice and in God's working within a broken world, right? In a perfect world, we don't have a good record, but probably there were boys born. Statistically speaking, probably the boys just died. Well, in a broken world, that's the sort of thing that happens. Death is a reality. All the ailments and medical stuff that we know about is a reality. In a broken world, you need a way to rebalance that. And that's what God does here. It says, okay, no, not a big deal. Give them the And then you get this little discussion about the Ephraimites all the things. And in verse 14, again, this is if you've been a parent or you've been dealing with kiddos, this is a classic thing. It doesn't change whether you're grown up or not. Verse 14, the people of Joseph said to Joshua, "You have given us only one allotment and one portion for an inheritance. We are a numerous people, and the Lord has blessed us abundantly." But why do I get the smallest piece of pie? Were there any pie fights over dividing up the pie that we get? Why do I get the smallest piece of pie? Or why do I get the same size pie as him? I'm so much bigger than they are, right? I need more pie to fill my belly. Seems legit to me. Why should I get the same, 4-year-old size pie? I need a 40-year-old size. That's 10 times the size. Some of you are going, yeah, but we're getting an 80-year-old size piece of pie. The Ephraimites are saying, hey, or the Manassites are saying, hey, we're this giant clan. We deserve more. And it's God's fault. Right? Isn't this the quintessential, excuse? Starts with Adam and Eve, in the garden. Well, God, you did it, right? You placed me here. You gave me this woman. You gave me this fruit. Why do I have to get the same size as everybody else? I want more. And so Joshua says, hey, listen, if it's too small for you, go up to the forest to clear the land and have that land too. There's more land to be had. But I don't want an apple. Right? If you're done eating, right? You go, well, I'm still hungry. Well, go have an apple. Go have to make yourself a peanut butter sandwich. Well, I don't want a peanut butter sandwich. He says, go up to the hill country, and they then, and clear that, and then they say, but the hill country is not enough for us. And all those Canaanites, they have chariots fitted with iron in Bashan and the settlements in the Jezreel. And Joshua replies to the tribe of Joseph, you are numerous and very powerful. You will not have only one allotment, but the forest and hill country as well. Clear it, and its farthest limits will be yours. Though the Canaanites have chariots fitted with iron, and though they are strong, you can drive them out. This is the third thing we see here in this text, is that there is no happily ever after in this life. There's no just, it gets done, and it's done once, and then it settles, and, that's it. What's the wrong hope? You'll set it and forget it. We don't live set it and forget it lives. There's more work to be done because God has given us the gift, the ability to tackle it. And so then He expects us to do it. And they complain, and we do that sometimes, or at least I know I do that sometimes. I'm doing something and I'm like, man, why do I have to be doing this? That was me yesterday. I had a project that was supposed to take 7 minutes according to all the little YouTube videos about how to do it that I watched. It just takes 7 minutes. You do this and do this. 2 days later, 2 days in deer season later, I'm cutting and doing this and this and that, and the third trip to the store, second store I had to go to, getting angrier and more resentful. Never been there? Well, why do I have to do this? And why can't somebody else do it? Why can't it just be easy? We complain. Man, this is so hard. Those chariots, they're fitted with iron, and they're... God reminds us, well, I equipped you to handle this. Yeah, but I don't want to. Well, okay, but you were given the ability to tackle this, and so tackle it. We see this, that God provides. He says, no, you can do this. You've got this. Right? Sometimes that's all we need. You've got this. You can do it. But there's a little caveat there that we don't see in this, and I think it's significant, that our success depends on how much we actually do. Now, this is not God helps those who help themselves. It's God helps you, first off, in order to have you be able to do something on your own. You know, if you weren't as smart as you are, if you weren't as strong as you are, if you weren't as skilled as you are, if you hadn't been born into the family that you were born into, if you hadn't been born at the time and the place in human history that you were, and I was, we wouldn't be able to do all the things that we were able to do. Right? So sometimes we do something, we fight some battle, we conquer some challenge, and we're like, man, I did this, look at this. Yeah, no. God did that through us because He had us born at the place. And, you know, if we had died when we were, you know, last week, we'd have a lot harder time doing anything this week. God is the one who brings us through and equips us and brings us to a place. And then we can do something, and we can participate in God's work. You know, this is Him bringing the people into the land of Israel. Sometimes He makes the walls just fall down, but sometimes they've got to plug away at it. And their success is based on how much they actually plug away at it. They keep going. See, what's interesting is you get that little discussion about that you know, the Manassites were not able to occupy these towns. The Canaanites were living there, but as they grew, they managed to get a little bit better. But they didn't quite get rid of all the Canaanites, and that comes back to bite them. The Ephraimites, particularly, fall into Canaanite practices, such that in the New Testament, when they list the 12 tribes, they don't mention Ephraim because it's such a wicked tribe. You know, we all have sections of our families that maybe we like to forget about, not mentioned in the Christmas card, a photo or the Christmas letter that goes out. Maybe we are the section of the family that everybody else does pretends we don't exist. Right? There's a problem. They don't quite dig in and succeed in that. And sometimes you and I, we're given a task by God, we're given a challenge by God, and we don't handle it well. We just, I don't really want to. And we never see success in it. But there is a promise. He says, though the Canaanites have chariots fitted with iron, and though they are strong, you can drive them out. See, we have all sorts of problems in this life that feel like it's fitted with iron. Right? Cast iron, blankety, 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 blankety. Armor-plated, blankety, 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 blankety. Right? We have things that we just feel like, man, I'm not making no headway. It's like banging my head up against a brick wall. Well, eventually you'll break down that wall. Pastor, you have a lot harder head than I do. I'm not sure that's how that works. Even though they're fitted with iron, you can get them out. See, there's this promise to this. Because God has equipped them, and God has blessed them, and God has brought them to this place, and He says, you can do it. And there's that little thing in there that if it's something that there's absolutely nothing you can do, it's just how, your particular situation, like the daughters, well, God's got a way around that as well. You see, there's certain things in this life that we can work on, and we can improve upon, and we can do something about. And then there's that thing that we can't. We can, no matter how good we are, no matter how goody two-shoes we are, no matter how righteous our living is, we still can't make up for the fact that we are born sinners in a sinful world. We are imperfect and we fail. Let alone the times that we decide, hey, I'm going to do it my own way. We mess that up too. If we can't follow the recipe, and sometimes we decide to go off recipe and it turns out terrible anyway. Oh, that's all right. And God says, that's okay. I'm going to send my Son to be in your place. I'm not going to change you. I'm going to change me. And I'm going to come to this earth as a little baby. I'm going to live and I'm going to die in your stead, in your place, to show you and to show the world what this looks like, this faithful living. He says, and if you have faith that I did that I love you that much, that I desire this relationship, if you buy into that with your life, then that's your story too. And so God will reveal himself and his truth in your life and in my life as we go about our daily things, our boring things, our detailed things. God will reveal himself again. Amen. Amen.